Parashat Yitro, the parasha in which we are given the Torah, the Ten Commandments, and with it the rest of the Torah. So the way it happened is that after 3 months in the desert, they reach Mount Sinai, and there they just park. They all park together, one heart, one soul, and they just feel that something big is about to happen. And then God calls to Moshe Rabbeinu and tells him, tell the people, tell the people, you have seen what I've done to Egypt, and how I've taken you on eagle wings and brought you to me. So now, from here you can know, and from here you listen and know that if you keep my covenant, then you will be my nation from all other nations, meaning you will be a nation of priests, a holy nation, and in a way it means you will be my first representative among other nations. So Moshe Rabbeinu comes to the people, comes to the elders, and he tells them these things. And the whole people, not only the elders, but the whole people answer and say yes. They say, well, whatever, they accept upon themselves this covenant. I mean, it's kind of hard to turn back now after they left Egypt on all the plagues and the splitting of the sea. But still, they say it in their own words. They say, whatever God has told you, we will do. And with that, Moshe goes back to God and tells him these words, even though of course God knows. But this procedure means something. This is some kind of procedure that they have to go through in order to get to the peak, which is the Ten Commandments. Because after that, God says, okay, now that they have said it, they have accepted it and said it with their words, now the big event is going to happen. I will come to you in the midst of clouds, and it's going to be, they have to prepare themselves for 3 days and make themselves holy and park here and not move and not go up the hill, not ascend too much, because this is going to be a big thing. They have to wear new clothes, or at least, well, actually they have to put on clothes that are not dirty, wash their clothes, put new clothes on, and they have to be ready. And on the third day after being ready, then there's, at first thing in dawn, there's voices and thunder and lightning and a lot of, I guess, mist and clouds that descend on the hill, and a very, very strong voice of a shofar. And this whole thing is very frightful, and the people are moved, and they are much more than moved. They are kind of terrified, even though they knew that this was coming. So they all stand there, and the whole mountain is like smoking with smoke and fire, and this keeps on going. Moshe Rabbeinu leaves them. He ascends to the mountain. As they stay there at the bottom of the mountain. He ascends, and everybody starts hearing the commandments. And the first one, everybody hears the first 2 commandments. The first one is, I am Hashem your God that took you out of Egypt from the house of slaves. The second commandment, or the second saying, is, you should not have any other God besides me. After those 2 sayings, there's no other way than to say that, but that the people were just freaked out. They couldn't contain anymore. They just told Moshe, we cannot hear anymore. Please, you go, you bring the words of God to us, because if we continue listening, our spirits will just leave our bodies. We'll just die on the spot. And it sounds like Moshe isn't so happy with this response, because he's like, if this was what God intended you to hear, then for sure you can hear it, you will not die. But they just can't handle it. And God confirms, Hashem confirms and says, well, no, it's okay. From now on, I'll tell you, and you tell them, this is okay. But it's just an interesting, that's what happened. And it's just such an interesting thing that on one hand, they're mesmerized, and this thing is penetrates their souls, and they accept, and they just know it's true. But on the other hand, they cannot contain it. It's too much. How can something be so true and so fulfilling and so emet, and on the same time be something you cannot stand and you cannot, too much for you? How can these 2 opposites dwell in the same person, and the same people, in the same bodies? And this paradox is, this paradox is like the secret of life in a way. What do I mean by that? By the code of life in essence, because if we were made by Hashem, that means there's no limit. We for sure do not know the limit of what we're able to do. Whatever we can do, or whatever we are destined to do, is whatever is destined for us, whatever is designated for us, and we cannot know that, but we can only feel it. We can only try to rise to the occasion. And if Hashem the first commandment is Anochi Hashem Elokech, I am Hashem your God, who took you out of Egypt from the house of slaves, that is the introductory of the whole 10 commandments. What does that mean? Why do we need that introductory? It's to tell us that undermines, it's the basis for everything that's going to be said from now on. What it means is that if I took you, I am a God, the Almighty, and I took you from a place where you were doomed, a house of slaves from Egypt, and now you're standing here on Mount Sinai and hearing the voice of God. If you, that realization in itself should engrave in you the understanding that you are never stuck. There's no such a thing as being stuck, that unless you stuck you think you're stuck. But if God made you, and this is the proof how you, from Egypt, from the lowest of the low, you are now standing on Mount Sinai. Then in anything you do in your life, that's why the 10 Commandments come to say. That's what they come to say, in a way that's the direction they're pointing. That's why you are able to fulfill commandments, even things you never would think about. All these mitzvot and halachot and fast days and everything. Why? What is the connection to me? Why would I get into it? And the answer is because if you realize that I took you from Bet Avadim, from Mitzrayim, you moved from point A to point B, that means you can always move. That is an introduction. That is the basis. You can always move from wherever you are, from point A to point B, wherever that is. But you're never stuck, because I am God. I am Hashem, your God, that took you out of the lowest of the low and brought you here. So that means you can move, you can transfer, you can progress. And with that power, you can fulfill all the mitzvot, all the commandments, and just continue on your voyage from being just a nobody or anyone to being someone who serves God, who serves something higher and some kind of goal and a purpose.